Hello, welcome back to my channel. This episode is all about how to make a cake from scratch. Please watch the video all the way to the end. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let's begin. The first thing you want to do is to measure out your ingredients before you start the mixing process. I often use a gram scale for more accuracy. That way, you use the correct amount of ingredients for your cake. So in a stand mixer, you want to add your softened butter. You want to whip this for around 15 to 20 seconds just to loosen up your butter before adding any other ingredients. You want to make sure that your butter is at room temperature. This allows other ingredients to be incorporated easily. Especially when making this type of cake, you want to make sure that all your ingredients are at room temperature. So now we want to add in our white granulated sugar. I generally prefer to use a 1 to 2 ratio for my cakes. Although more sugar can be added, I typically prefer cakes that are less sweet. So to every 1 cup of white granulated sugar, I add 2 cups of all-purpose flour. You can also use the paddle attachment on your stand mixer. If you don't have a stand mixer at home, a whisk can be used or a hand mixer. You want to also keep your mixer on medium. You want to mix your butter and sugar until light and creamy before adding any other ingredients. This process should take about 1 to 2 minutes. You want to scrape down the sides of your bowl regularly to ensure that all your ingredients are mixed in properly. By this time, your oven should have already been preheated. Preheating your oven ensures that your cakes bake at an even temperature from start to finish. In the meantime, let's move on to our dry ingredients. Although it is much easier to do this part before we start making our cake. Sifting your dry ingredients prevents lumps from forming in your batter. You don't want to cut open your cake and find dry patches of flour. Sifting also helps to create a light and airy texture in your cake. Then to the flour, you want to add baking soda or baking powder, whatever the recipe requires. While some recipe calls for all-purpose flour, some recipe requires that you use cake flour. However, if you do not have cake flour at home, it is very simple to make. To every 1 cup of all-purpose flour, you want to minus 1 tablespoon of flour from it, then add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. After mixing our dry ingredients, you want to put that aside and return to our butter and sugar. After 2 minutes, our butter and sugar should look like this. So next we want to add in our eggs, 1 by 1. You want to whip at least 30 seconds between each eggs. This ensures that your batter stays fluffy. You don't want your batter to get runny. When making your cake, you want to make sure that you follow the recipe. Try not to add any extra ingredient unless you are substituting it for something similar. The full recipe for this vanilla cake will be linked in the description box below. And remember to scrape down your bowl as often as possible. As you can see, there are still patches of eggs left unmixed. If you are enjoying this video so far, please be sure to leave a like. Please comment, share and subscribe. Also, click on the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a video. After another 30 seconds of creaming, look how well our cake batter is coming together. This is just eggs, butter and sugar. And as you can see, it is very light, fluffy and creamy, and that is the texture that we are looking for. And again, we are scraping down our bowl to ensure that we get everything well mixed in. This process ensures that our cake comes out very tender, moist, light and fluffy. So now we want to slowly add in our vegetable oil. You can also substitute the vegetable oil for olive oil or any other oil of your preference. But we want to slowly add it so it doesn't break our batter. I am using both oil and butter in my cake. While oil cakes tend to rise high and has a softer texture, butter cakes are more flavorful but is a little on the drier side. So to get the best of both worlds, I use both oil and butter in my cakes, except when the recipe specifically calls for either. And just take a look at how fluffy our batter is already. Very smooth and creamy, and there are no longer any sugar grits present. Now we want to go ahead and add in our vanilla. The type of vanilla that you use is very important. If you can get the vanilla beans, that's perfect. Otherwise, just use a good brand of vanilla extract. But generally when making your cakes, try to use quality ingredients for the best outcome. At this point, you can remove your bowl from the stand mixer and finish by hand, or you can just finish in the stand mixer. So now you want to gently fold in half of your dry ingredients using a rubber spatula. You want to mix your cake well, but not too much. Over mixing your cake can cause your flour to develop too much gluten, which results in a heavier, denser cake, and we don't want that. Although it is more suitable to use a rubber spatula when folding in dry ingredients, whenever I'm making a larger batch, I prefer to alternate between the stand mixer and the spatula. As soon as your dry ingredients is no longer visible, you want to add half of your buttermilk. I know that in some countries you might not be able to find buttermilk at the grocery stores. So here is a quick and easy recipe to make it yourself at home. To every 1 cup of milk, you want to add 1 tablespoon of white vinegar. You want to give it a quick mix, then leave it to rest for 10 minutes. So now we add the rest of our dry ingredients, then we alternate between the dry ingredients and our buttermilk. As you can see, I started off using my rubber spatula to prevent the flour from flying everywhere. Although I'm using the stand mixer, I'm mixing for no longer than 10 to 15 seconds because we don't want to overmix our cake batter. So here I'm just adding the remaining buttermilk, mixing for 10 to 15 seconds, then our cake is ready. You also want to mix this on low to prevent any spillage, and again to prevent over mixing. I find this to be the best no-fail technique whenever I'm making my cakes, and I use this technique anytime I'm making a vanilla cake. And would you just take a look at our batter? So now you just want to remove your whisk and scrape down the sides of your bowl to ensure that everything is mixed in well. You want to just mix this for another 15 to 20 seconds to ensure that everything is fully incorporated. By this time, your oven should have already been preheated so that when you add your cakes, they bake at an even temperature from start to finish. It's now time to bake our cakes. You want to pour your cake batter into baking tins. We want to make sure that our baking tins are properly lined. So whether you want to use baking paper or a baking spray, or you want to butter and flour your pans. Giving your cakes a light tap on the counter helps to release any large air bubbles. It is also a great idea to use more than one baking cans rather than to fill one can all the way to the top. You want to leave space for the cakes to rise. You can also weigh your cake batter to ensure that your cakes bake up evenly. And take a look at our finished cake. I also like to add a little simple syrup for extra moisture. You can also make this simple syrup at home. It's a very easy recipe. 1 cup of water to 1 cup of granulated sugar. You want to pour this on your cake while it's still hot, then wrap in cling foil wraps and place inside the refrigerator. And remember that the recipe for this vanilla cake will be linked in the description below. Please remember to like, share and subscribe. Please click the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a video. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.